Hey guys, it's Kelsey. I'm back with another scrapbooking process video, and today is scrap 5, and Ronnie Sue picked our list for today, and it's a pretty good one. So she got stamps on the layout, cork on the layout. If you don't have cork, we were allowed to use wood veneer. We needed to use an old technique we haven't used in a while, and we had to use a large circle or semicircle, and then we had to use at least a 3-word title with at least 2 different fonts. So I thought that was a really fun mix. And I got stuck for a while trying to figure out what I wanted to do for like my old technique. Because I feel like I really stick to kind of a couple favorite techniques. And I was trying to think about something that I used to do a lot that I haven't done in a while. So I end up kind of thinking of something that encompasses a lot of the list in one element. So you'll kind of see once I get going. But this photo is from Valentine's Day. So I really wanted to lean into a lot of the reds and the pinks. And I had a scrap of this orange paper, which was the back of, I think it was the yellow diagonal. I can't really remember, but a scrap from that first page that I did. I really wanted to use the B side, which were the oranges, to introduce some oranges into the pink and the red. I thought that was a really sweet color scheme, especially for Valentine's Day. And it kind of gave me an idea for my title. So I'm just going to lay them out kind of how it makes sense. I really liked this tone-on-tone dot as the background. And then I kind of had the citrus paper as a long band with that scrap of the background from that first layout as a big mat around my photo. So it's kind of where I'm starting. I know since I have that orange pattern paper running up the whole page, I went ahead and gutted the background and pieced these all together on a scrap piece of black. And then what I normally do when I want to use a big circle element is I trace one of my wall decor pieces to kind of give me the circle shape. And usually I actually cut out a circle of another piece of paper, but I thought it would be cool to create this large semicircle with my stamps and my old technique. So instead of kind of using a paper layer, what I decided to do was I was going to stamp with a little heart stamp and create like that semicircle look with a bunch of little hearts and emboss them, because I used to only ever use stamps when I was going to do heat embossing, which I usually only ever did on Felicity Jane layout. So I thought it was appropriate to bring that back. So this took me a minute. I don't make you watch me doing all of these hearts, but as you can see, I'm just going in with my clear ink, stamping the heart, pouring on my white embossing powder, tapping off the excess, and then using my heat gun. And I did this repetitively until I felt like I had enough hearts to fill in this semicircle. I tried to just start with that very middle heart, and then I did the outer hearts, and then I did the in-between hearts, and I just kept filling it in that way. And I'll skip in a minute to where they're mostly all done, so you didn't have to watch all of it. But I think that was a really cool, kind of fun, different technique. And I thought it was nice that it encompassed 3 of the 5 recipe items, because I got my old technique, my stamps, and my big circle on here. So just getting those final hearts used up. I'm using a little brush to kind of tap off some of this excess. It's very messy stamp embossing. This is not crisp stamp embossing how I would have loved, but I'm just rolling with it. I kind of like the messy casualness of it. I think it adds like a little sweet touch. Sometimes when your stamping's too perfect, it's boring, so I just embrace it, especially with the embossing powder. If that's how it's gonna look, I feel like there's no working around it. So I got that down. I think that's really sweet, and now I'm gonna revisit my layers, but I was pretty proud of how that turned out, and I like that that added a little bit more white, because there's not really white in any of these pattern papers. I did matte my photo in some white, but other than that, that's kind of the only white I have on here so far. So now I'm gluing the layers back down where I had them. I am using that kind of double tone-on-tone scallopy branding strip to the left, which is really nice. That kind of blends both that pink and that red together. Now I'm going to go ahead and start layering around my photo. So here's the white mat that's going to be the first mat, and then I wanted to layer that on the red. And then of course I will gut what's behind the photo. But I knew I want some more layers behind here, but I'm not wanting to cut into a whole 12 by 12 just for another layer behind my photo. So I'm kind of going through my scraps right now and trying to figure out If there's any other paper layers I can use and kind of what I wanted to do for my embellishment, there are some oranges and grapefruits and a couple fruits in the die cuts, and I really wanted to at least get the orange on here since I'm using the orange pattern paper. So I'm going to go ahead and get another one of these frames on here, and I'm backing that with a chunk of a pocket card that also matches that orange motif. I figured that would be the backdrop for one of my clusters. And then I'll also get the orange die cut. But I bought these, I brought these fringes in from another Felicity Jane collection because I thought the colors coordinated really well with this one. So I definitely wanted to use the light pink as part of this cluster too. And then there's that little orange die cut. So I'm just putting this little cluster together. I don't want it to be too complicated, but I really liked the frame that was backed in that pattern paper with the fringe and then popping up this really sweet little orange. As soon as I used the orange motif with the pattern paper, I was like, okay, I need to tie this into my title about like Marcus being sweet or something, because then I think it would make sense why there's fruit on here. So it's kind of where I was going initially with it, but I definitely want to make sure I get these fruit used up this month. So I definitely needed to at least get the orange on here. So I'm just trying to figure out how much of this fringe I'm going to use because I want to trim it and salvage the leftovers for another page. I'm definitely not going to use all of it. But before I commit, I want to get like the positioning of my photo and everything down. So I went ahead and gutted that orange paper. And then the back of that is kind of a orange diagonal chevron looking paper. So I thought that would be perfect because it would help pull some of that orange in from that other paper. So I'm just going to take a couple strips of that and tuck it on either side of the photo just to bring that orange in as another layer. And I really like that. So I'm going to get the photo glued down and then I'll go back with those other two layers. But that's the plan. So I have kind of this down and then I kind of know that one cluster that's going down the bottom right of the photo. And then I'm thinking I want something in the upper left of the photo. And then, of course, I need to do my title because I think I did 3 of the recipe items with that semicircle, but I still have to use cork or wood veneer and I still have to do my 2-font 3-word title. So I'm trying to keep that in the back of my mind so I don't forget. I don't have any cork left. I did have cork in the beginning of the year, and then we were very successful that first month with How to Kill Kit with Style, and I used all of it in that coffee themed kit. So all I'm down to is wood veneer. So I knew I had to do wood veneer on this page since I was out of cork. So I know I'll pull that bin out when I kind of get to that point. I knew I could find some wood veneer even if it was just more hearts. So I wasn't too worried about that. And then obviously I'll get around to the title. So, but I trimmed the fringe down to the size I wanted, ruffled up the fringe so you could really see that texture. And now I'm gluing down this frame, and that little orange die cut is going to get some foam so it lays over that frame, that chipboard frame flat. So kind of played around with it. I thought about using this green little label because there is green on the leaves of the oranges on that die cut and in the pattern paper, but I thought it was drawing too much attention to the orange, or to the green, so I took that label back off. But there is this tone-on-tone partial tag that matches the background paper, and I thought it would be perfect to get that used up in one of the clusters. So I played around with maybe having the orange up there by the tag and then pulling the grapefruit in for that bottom cluster, but immediately didn't like it as much. I really just want to focus on the orange fruit. So adding that foam, and then now that I have that partial tag up there marking where my second cluster is going to be, I need to figure out what else is going to go with it. I did kind of miss the part where I added these photo corners, but the photo corners I thought about using on the first page, I got used up on this one, which I really like because it adds that red out to the corners of the layout where it's more pink. So I'm glad I got those used up, and now I'm looking in my wood veneer bin to see what I want to use. So I go back with that freckled fawn heart banner and then a couple little hearts that I'm going to use to accent the little cluster that I made. So just takes me a minute. I thought about trying to use leaves or something since there were leaves on the oranges, but I really thought it was just distracting from the little orange die cut, so I needed something more simple. But I like this little heart banner, and I think it'll play off the little hearts I'm adding down here to this cluster. Immediately, I don't like the raw wood veneer look, but I figured I would just end up painting them white because I need some more white on this page. I have the white matte around the photos and then the embossing, and that's pretty much it. So I think painting the wood veneer white will help freshen it up a little bit. So I'm just going back in with some white acrylic paint for that. And I like how that looks. So it just takes me a minute to get those painted and then stuck down. But then after that, I need to focus on my title, and then my recipe is done. But I really like how this one turned out. It kind of went from looking like one of my normal pages to something really different, just because I had this kind of recipe that forced me to think outside of the box. So that was really fun. I really got my fingers messy trying to paint these. That's okay. I should just skip this part, but I think I'm almost done. I will cut through the drying time, obviously, so we'll skip to where these are dry and I can go ahead and glue them down. And you guys know I'm out of my Tombow Mono multi-glue, but I do have my Nuvo glue, which has been working great for this kind of stuff, so I'm not worried about it. I did just paint the tops of these, and then it was bothering me that the edges were still raw wood veneer, so I went back through all the pieces and painted the edges white as well. So it just took me a minute to go back and do that. But then I think we're almost done. So, and I don't think this was last Valentine's Day. I think it was the one before. I've got some catching up to do. It took me a really long time to get through all of those wedding pages. So usually I'm less than a year out from being caught up. So I have to remember that I'm actually a year behind. But getting these pieces glued down, I think those look really sweet. Simple clusters again. I mean, I really do like this little cluster with the fringe and the frame, but definitely not as clustery as I usually like my Felicity Jane bits. But again, I'm just trying not to use too much or just throw extra on there just because, so I'm going to leave it as it is. And then I decided I would do my favorite type of mixed font title where I use some small tile alphas with some big foam dimensional alphas. So, I was trying to go through my freckled fawn tile alphas to see which orange matched best. So I went with this brighter orange that I thought was closer than the kind of more muted orange as my tile alpha. And then I'm going through these big white foam alphas to get my one word. So I figured I would just title it My Sweet Man, and I would have my sweet in the small words and then man in the big white foam. I think that spatially looks the nicest. And then I really like how that pulls some more orange in with the tile alphas, but I really like how it kind of references the orange in a way, like my sweet man, oranges are sweet, to try to make that motif make a little bit more sense. And then now I'm just partially sticking down all of these letters because I'm not quite sure where they're going to go, but I kind of wanted this title to fill in that portion of the semicircle. And this isn't normally where I would space out my title, but I actually really like it. It feels like it's like the main character on this page, and I like that because I love mixing my titles, and I don't do that enough. So it has this little moment over there. But I actually really like that spacing, so I'm going to go ahead and commit and stick that all down, and then I forgot to reuse these word stickers, these colored word stickers that I brought into this kit on the first page. So I really wanted to get some of them used up on this one. And I think the only color that really goes on this page is the light pink. So I will end up pulling in 3 different little word stickers. It just says life is, and then a row of hearts, and then the word together. So I thought those were all very appropriate for a Valentine's themed page. And I also like how there's hearts on here, but it's not like in your face hearts like my normal Valentine's Day page. So I think that's sweet too. But that's it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you check out everyone else who's playing along with Scrap 5 and see what they did with the recipe. If you want to play along, please tag us on Instagram, #Scrap5, because we love to see. And I'll see you in the next process video. Bye.